Few episodes had expectations as high as Flight to the Finish did. Not only did we get a sneak peek of this episode months ahead of time at Comic-Con, which opens the floodgates to speculation and theories, but the episode is also from a new writer, which tends to make everyone be extra judgmental. And of course, I'm not exempt when it comes to using extra scrutiny on new writers. After all, I was more than willing to declare Josh Haber a very talented writer after only one episode, and would seem that I'm going to do the same here. Ed Valentine is a great writer, and Flight to the Finish is a great episode. Let's talk about it. The episode gets started with continuing the story arc of the Equestria Games, which started last season, and we are once again introduced to the Equestria Games head, Miss Harshwinny, who begins briefing Ponyville's school children about flag carrying in the games. But no one was interested in that. Instead, everyone was just watching Miss Harshwinny's ridiculous facial expressions, the intensity of which have never been seen before in the show. At this point, you could be excused for wondering why I have such a strange infatuation with facial expressions. I mean, I've mentioned them in nearly every review I've made so far. And no, it's not some sort of Freudian face envy that my OC has. It's just because I've always felt that facial expressions, especially in a cartoon, can often say just as much, if not more, about what a character is thinking and feeling than their own dialogue. Here, for example, the contrast between Miss Harshwinny's, harshness and Rainbow Dash's childish excitement is somewhat evident through the dialogue, but the effect is amplified by an incredible amount by the contrast just in their faces. Anyway, so Miss Harshwinny and Rainbow Dash explain that everyone in the class will work to create a special flag-carrying routine to introduce Ponyville at the Equestria Games. The winner will get to perform the routine at the actual games. Naturally, the Cutie Mark Crusaders are eager to get in on this, and we move on to the first song of Season 4. And if you thought the songs in the show were great in the first 3 seasons, then you haven't seen anything yet. Hearts as Strong as Horses, as well as every other song in the season, pulls out all the stops and give us something that is just miles beyond anything we've seen before. While the lyrics may be similar to the kind in earlier seasons, the instrumentals are what make this song shine. I highly recommend getting a version of this song with the vocals edited out and just giving it a listen. The energetic percussion and strings are nothing short of incredible. And through the sheer power of being awesome, the CMC creates an amazing routine that will for sure win the contest. Of course, we can't have the CMC getting excited about something if we didn't have Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon trying to ruin their fun. They try the classic blank flank taunt, but it doesn't work. The CMC just roll their eyes. You see, when I say that facial expressions can add a lot of meaning, here's another big example. The CMC rolling their eyes says so much about how they've grown. They are no longer letting their lack of cutie marks be the only thing that defines them, and now they're just completely unaffected by taunting about it. And that's important, because when Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon fail to demoralize the CMC, they have to switch to a different kind of ammunition, and when arbitrarily defined classism fails, you gotta go to the next best thing. Ableism. So now the two began taunting the CMC for the fact that Scootaloo can't fly, and unfortunately, this taunting works. At least it does for Scootaloo. Sweetie Belle and Apple Bloom are pretty much unfazed, and I don't think it's out of a lack of empathy for Scootaloo or anything like that. I think the concept of this sort of ableism is something so outrageous to them that they just don't get it. The way I see it, Apple Bloom and Sweetie Belle literally do not understand why Scootaloo being able to fly should even be considered a problem. Which makes sense, because it isn't a problem. That's the whole point. Still, this taunting does get through to Scootaloo, who decides now that if they are going to have any chance of winning at all, she would have to fly. So the CMC end up rewriting the routine to focus almost entirely around Scootaloo flying. And that itself might not be so bad, except for one small problem. Scootaloo still can't actually fly, so the whole routine is just a big embarrassment. And Rainbow Dash, who you'll recall is coaching them, even tells them that they should go back to the old routine. Scootaloo, however, completely misinterprets this criticism and reaches the conclusion that instead of reverting to the other routine, like Rainbow Dash said, she concludes that she must be holding the group back. So she decides to not participate with the rest of the CMC, to which Apple Bloom responds with, "Fine, we don't want to quit her anyway." That kind of took me aback at first. It's pretty harsh of Apple Bloom to essentially just say "screw you" to someone she's been friends with since season 1, but when I thought about it more, it began to make sense. We all have to keep in mind that the CMC are still children and will make childish mistakes. I know I remember several instances back in elementary school where I would suddenly declare myself not friends with someone over some incredibly petty dispute, and then we'd find ourselves playing in the sandbox together at the end of the day anyway. Basically what I'm saying is that Applebloom's hot-headedness here is actually pretty understandable for a child like her. But just because it's understandable doesn't mean it's right. As Rainbow Dash is quick to point out to Applebloom and Sweetie Belle, just ditching Scootaloo like that instead of trying to help her is seriously not cool. Remember back when people would say that Rainbow Dash didn't really represent the element of loyalty? Ha 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 ha! Just look at all this loyalty action going on over here. Do you also remember when I said in my Twilight's Kingdom review, as well as my video on Alicorn Twilight, that Season 4 had a notable shift in focus towards teaching lessons to others as opposed to learning them? I wasn't just talking about the 5 key episodes. Here we see Rainbow Dash teaching an important lesson to Scootaloo, as well as the rest of the CMC. If the two are going to be pseudo-sisters, like what Season 3 said they were, it's great to see Rainbow Dash stepping up to the new level of responsibility that carries with it. This is textbook character growth, and I love it. Hang on, didn't I say those exact words about Rainbow Dash in my collab on Rainbow Falls? Rainbow Dash is starting to lose her idolization of the Wonderbolts in preference of her friends. This is textbook character growth, and I love it. Huh. Whatever, it's still true. Rainbow Dash really has grown a lot this season. Anyway, after her little pep talk, the Cutie Mark Crusaders are back together, we get a reprise of the song, and they go on to win the contest with the old routine. And that's the end. But not before Scootaloo comments that they could probably get their cutie marks in flag carrying, about which Rainbow Dash's expression tells all. So, for the third time this video, I'm going to invoke the motif of getting more out of the show just by reading facial expressions. Rainbow Dash's face of frustration here indicates that obsessively pursuing their cutie marks is a step back for the CMC. It once again shows how they are past the stage of caring about their cutie marks so much. This is textbook No, wait, I already said that. Okay, how else can I phrase this? The CMC are awesome. This episode is awesome. Come on, this show is awesome. I guess I could even say that everything